Okay, let's take a look at some of the reaction to Jeff Rath's unbelievable interview yesterday with Vashi over at CTV. First person here, Marty up north. This is not quite as epic as Jordan Peterson schooling Kathy Newman in 2018, but it's right up there. Jeff Rath delivers a masterclass on how to deal with an aggressive journalist. He was on fire, absolutely quick on his feet. That's because he's true to his convictions and isn't juggling lies in his head. The bit about being a queen on the chessboard was brilliant. It totally was. We'll find that real quick here.
We don't care. You know, we live in the world of realpolitik.
But you don't mind being a pawn in that fight?
We're not a pawn. I mean, we're talking to them about our aspirations, and we have our goals and objectives. So, you know, we're not a pawn. We're actually more like a rook or a queen on a chessboard, moving forward in the direction that we want to move freely on the board. You know,
Marty is right. That is a brilliant answer. He came up with that right on the spot. I mean, 10 out of 10.
Pawns are the provincial premiers like Danielle Smith that are being manipulated by Carney and Eby and communist China to do their globalist bidding, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
When you mentioned that
again, this interview was such a breath of fresh air. We'll take a look at some more reactions here. This large X account called Table Salt, I think it's got, just about 100,000 followers actually, says, "I'm sorry, but after watching the Vashi interview with Alberta Separatist leader Jeffrey Rath, I have decided he is based AF, an alpha who drops truth bomb after truth bomb. 10 out of 10, recommended. I agree." And then he's got the thug life glasses, the gold chains. There was a lot of in 2016, those interviews when you would dunk on somebody, the glasses would turn to the shot. Pretty funny post there from Table Salt. Here's Mark Nixon. "Alberta is done with Ottawa. This interview was a masterclass, totally. Jeff Rath slams Vashi. We are not going to be captured by communist China. End of story." I mean, there was so much positive reaction to this interview, not only on X, but on YouTube. I really think this was a big moment in Canadian news because I made this point in my last video on this topic. That discussion that you saw has not happened on mainstream networks in Canada, maybe ever. If it has, it was a long time ago, way before I ever paid attention to the news. It's always a very controlled debate between, you could call an establishment liberal and establishment conservative. Jeff Rath did not care one bit where the person was trying to frame the question. He just said what was on his mind. It was beautiful. And of course, there's always haters out there. Let's see this guy, Steve. "Jeff Rath sounds like an unhinged lunatic. Put the camera and mic in his face more often." I mean, I hope they would. I think it'd be fantastic for Alberta and for Canada. Here's another hater. "Watching this idiot conspiracy theorist named Jeff Rath. He won't answer who he is meeting with in the US. He's a traitor and should be treated as such." Okay, buddy. Trey on X with some crazy words. And by the way, way too many Canadian X accounts are anonymous. I've noticed this. I can't be the only one. America has anonymous accounts too, but Canada has way more. Like half the big accounts on X in Canada are anonymous. Why? And to finish this video today, we'll look at Moose on the Loose, very large Canadian YouTuber, give his take on some of the interview. I won't show all of Moose's takes. I'm just going to clip out a few.
Don't you think that communist Ottawa is leveraging communist China against Alberta?
This is a wild one. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Jeffrey Rath from the Alberta Prosperity Project having an interview with Vashi Kapelos of CTV, and I don't think she's prepared for the answer she got in this interview. Jeffrey absolutely unloading, not holding back on Carney's corrupt Liberal government, the corrupt media, David Eby. Let's jump into this. It is the craziest interview I've ever seen on CTV.
Hi, Mr. Rath. It's great to meet you. I appreciate you
I would
making
agree with that.
the time.
I wouldn't call it crazy, but it was the best one I've ever seen.
So we have Jeffrey Rath here, who's leading up the Alberta separatist movement, who's gone down to meet with some of Trump's team. And this report came out that they're securing money. So if Alberta separates, if the Canadian government says, well, you have to have a payout to leave Canada and all this stuff, they would have billions of dollars to be able to do that, secure a loan, all this kind of stuff. This is all just theoretical talk right now. They haven't gone and secured a loan, but the media just ran buck wild with it.
Aspirationally, Alberta would love to have a pipeline through the U.S. Pacific Northwest to the West Coast because we're sick and tired of David Eby threatening threatening us with a veto and saying we're only getting a pipeline over his dead body and all of the foolishness that comes out of his mouth. And of course, the reaction to that from David Eby, when he saw that his power was being taken away and that he no longer had power, he was no longer going to have power to constrain oil and gas development in Alberta on behalf of his communist masters in China, right, was to jump up and down and have a hysterical little hissy fit and say that, we're engaged in treason and that real Albertans don't support independence. I mean, it was the most ridiculous display of on behalf of a premier that I've ever seen. He should be embarrassed, really.
If we take Dave.
So let's just slow this down for a second here. So he's right that Scott Bessent came out, made some comments.
Alberta is a wealth of natural resources, but they won't let him build a pipeline to the Pacific.
These comments here is what really spurred everything on, because everyone got to see this. And I would argue Scott Bessent is the Treasury Secretary of the Government of America, but J.D. Vance is the Vice President. He's the second most powerful man in America. And as for him mentioning David Eby's comments,
I think he's saying, though, that Scott Bessent in a large degree controls the money, and the people that control the money are very powerful. I mean, it's certainly arguable. Who's the second most powerful man in the world? You could probably say President Xi of China would be number 2, but I mean, it's definitely a debate. I think Rath would be coming at it from the money angle, that the people that control the money in society have a ton of power.
That are upset, especially in Ontario, that when Alberta leaves, that Ontarians for the first time in their lives are going to have to pay their own bills and pay the bills of the Maritimes that we've been paying for years. I understand that's upsetting to people, but they need to understand that Albertans are done, we're leaving, and there's no more conversation to be had. I know that's upsetting to people.
Do you believe?
Okay, let's break down some of that. So first off, he says Albertans are leaving. I hear a lot of that kind of tone, and in reality, I think mentally it would be better for Albertans who want to separate to maybe hope to separate, because looking at the numbers, they just don't look like they're there. And you're setting yourself up for real crushing defeat. If Alberta doesn't separate, then you feel like you're trapped versus being team conservative across Canada. I mean, there's a lot of conservatives across this country. There's not just in Alberta. There's a ton of them in Ontario. There's even
It's too early to say that, though. Again, I compare the energy to the initial MAGA movement. At the very beginning, the numbers were very low when Trump rode down the escalator. Then momentum built. The Alberta independence movement is still in that momentum building phase. Where will it get to? I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows. But if it's at maybe 30%, 35% right now, the momentum could still for sure build to 55 or something like that. But it's hard to say. I mean, there's just so many people in Alberta that wouldn't have even been paying attention at all to this. But now there's all these petitions. There's all this social media coverage. There's all this mainstream media coverage. It kind of gets people to look around and think, oh, maybe this actually is not such a bad idea. So it's way too early to tell, in my opinion, where the Alberta independence movement will end up.
In the Atlantic provinces. There's a lot of them out here in British Columbia. I mean, there's NDP and definitely some wingnuts out here as well. But I mean, there's conservatives across Canada here. We're all in this together. It's just Alberta, I get it. I grew up in Alberta. I'm born and raised in Alberta, has been getting the short end of the stick for decades now. But you have to remember, the NDP still have pretty good numbers in Alberta, which is really sad, but it's just the truth. So I don't think Alberta will get to separate. So we really need to unite together, fight back against, as he says, the communist Ottawa government. And going back to his point there about Trump and getting more respect from the Trump administration and getting a meeting and all this kind of stuff, like this is going to be so triggering to the left, because they're like, oh, that evil Donald Trump is destroying our country, and now these guys are saying Trump is being better to them than our own country. I mean, just look at this objectively. Yes, Trump is putting tariffs on our country. It is wiping out industry, a lot in the auto sector, moving down to America. People are losing their jobs. Awful. Then on the other side, he's right, though. If he asked Mark Carney for a meeting, Tim Hodgson, to come and talk about all this stuff, pipelines and stuff in Alberta, would they come? No, of course not. They don't care. So this really is being trapped between a rock and a hard place. Albertans just trying to get out of it. I think the key here is not to put all your eggs in the one basket, because if that basket doesn't pan out, it's going to be mental devastation for 1 million plus people in Alberta. And Albertans should know, you're not alone. We're all in this together. We're all conservatives here across Canada that want to fix the problem.
Believe though that
there already is mental devastation, though. I agree with some of his points that he said there. I definitely think there is a real chance that Alberta will be independent. And in terms of the mental devastation, there already is mental devastation all over Canada with the economic ruin that Trudeau left us while he's down with Katy Perry at whatever the award show was last night, the Grammys or something. I don't even care. The Oscars, maybe. Trudeau's there with Katy Perry laughing. Meanwhile, Canada just left in such a bad state from him. But anyway, with that said, I'll finish the video. And also, by the way, just to be clear, I am a fan of Moose on the Loose. I think he is great. I think Jasmine Lane, I'd put number 1. But in terms of the most successful Canadian YouTuber, it's probably Moose. The guy crushes it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day. Oh, and we made it to 1,000 subscribers, so I won't be as concerned about getting subscribers now because I'm at 1,000, which is great. But if you could still like the video, I'd appreciate that. Have a great day.